welcome to ReneMarie Stokola. I'm ReneMarie, and this is my co-host, Judy Marlow. Hi, Judy.
Hi, how are you today?
Good, very good. So today we kind of thought we'd shift it around and turn around the show and really bring everything back to why we do this show. And we wanted to do a Knowledge is Power presentation, which I actually go around and I keynote speak and I share to a lot of the into the world that strokes can be prevented, and that 80% of strokes can be prevented. That there is hope after a stroke. We have a lot of different missions in our lives, and some of our missions, part of our missions, are to bring awareness to prevent strokes, and then to bring hope after those that have had strokes.
Definitely.
And aphasia. So we thought that we'd bring it back and we'd present to you our a presentation that I make, and I hope you can see it. If you can't, you can always zoom in on it later on. But we thought we'd bring it to you. And first it says our missions. Together we are lifting our voices and changing the face of strokes and aphasia locally and around the globe. And it really is important to understand that the misconception of strokes, and when we say face, we're talking about the conception that strokes only happen to our grandparents, and that is so untrue. Jim, could you show the photo of those of us that have had strokes? I think it's I was 26 when I had my stroke, which it says on this slide. We'll get to that next, the photos, but Judy, read this for us.
The likelihood of having a stroke nearly doubles every 10 years after age 55. Although stroke is more common among the elderly, a lot of people under 65 have strokes. Even unborn babies can have strokes. And we're talking children, we're talking teens, and adults, yes, as well as senior citizens.
And we really want to bring awareness to everybody on that, because recently a lot of young people, for instance, Luke Perry, suffered a massive stroke and he passed away at a very young age. I believe he was approximately 55, somewhere around there, because I know he's my age. And it's so humbling to be able to have the opportunity to sit here in front of you after suffering a major stroke at 26. And, I don't try to go back too much to think about how severe I was. But once in a while, it's important for me to share that with you so that I could bring hope to those of you that have suffered strokes. I was in a semi-coma for a week, and I threw people out of my room. And I don't remember that week, to tell you the truth. And it was very heartwarming and devastating. Heartwarming is the wrong terminology, but it was very devastating to be in this place where the unknown, and not to be able to process things, and not be able to think of things, and just really be in an unknown space. And to me, it must have been hard for those families.
And weren't you a young mother at that time?
I was. My daughter was 6 months old. 6 months old. So for someone to have suffered a stroke, and the person that's suffering the stroke is going through it, I can't explain this properly, but they don't actually know they're going through it.
It's all unknown.
Yeah, because we're in a space where what's going on, like
what happened?
What happened? But the families, could you imagine?
It's devastating to the families, and I know,
right,
firsthand.
You were a caregiver.
I was a caregiver.
But yeah, so that's what
your whole world gets turned inside out, and for the family, people have to quit their jobs.
Well, like I said to everybody, I have this tragedy going on in my life, and and I've had to help someone deal with the insurances and the rehabilitations and the hospice and you learn so much as you're going through all those things, and it's different in every single situation,
of course,
because you've paid for different health care in your life. But to me, it's so sad because families, their first priority should be to give the love
yes,
and support to the loved ones.
That is vital.
Vital. I mean, their loved ones they just suffered a stroke. Strokes are so different in each person.
That's true too.
They happen differently in each person. They happen because of reasons and differently in each person. And it's so devastating to sit there and watch someone you love not be able to communicate, to be in an unknown state,
and to be paralyzed.
I was paralyzed on my right side, so.
And it can even affect their vision.
Yes, it can affect in their speech
and
their
vision,
speech and their swallowing. I've learned
yes,
recently that they're swallowing.
If they can't swallow, they have to put in a feeding tube. Otherwise,
right,
a person could die.
Right. So it's really very devastating to the family members as well as the.
And the family members have to make very important decisions.
Yes. Yeah.
And the care of
So I want to open up the panel because Nancy is a board member. Keith Taylor is Nancy was how old? She was approximately 40, I think, when she had her stroke.
Yes.
Keith Taylor had a stroke. He had a young age. Stephen was on our show. He had a stroke at a young age. Virginia Warner, she's a board member as well. She had a stroke at a young age. Josh Orlin also had a stroke at a young age. Bobby Baby Walker just had a stroke. Stacy Kaplan. So these are all people that have come into our lives. Bob from the stroke victor. He's in Florida, and Bob is so passionate about making a difference in the stroke world that he flew in from Florida with his wife when we did our first telethon.
Yes.
And he's been connected with us ever since. So it really is important. But back to why we show this photo is because
stroke can happen to anyone at any age.
Anyone at any age. And we want to make sure that you're seeing your doctor, you're really taking care of yourself, you're eating properly, and we're going to go through the list in a little bit of what may cause a stroke. Jim, could you change the slide? So what is a stroke, Judy?
It can happen to anyone at any time. It occurs when blood flow to an area of the brain is cut off. When this happens, the brain cells are deprived of oxygen and begin to die.
That's why time is of the essence. And a stroke is a brain attack. The way that we have heart attacks, a stroke is a brain attack. Jim? Okay, so the facts. Strokes are the leading cause of disability in the country. That is devastating statistics because that means it's affecting the majority of the people. And what are we going to do with that piece of information? We can't just let it ignore it. We can't ignore that. So that's why we do what we do, and
we're passionate about it because it's hit our families. It hit you directly,
yeah,
and it hit my family.
Yeah, and like I said, I was gifted to have the family support and unconditional love, and that supported me to go through it, to show me that unconditional love is the prime tool for recovery. And my father, and I said this last week, my father took away all the burdens of the financial burdens that would have been on mine and my husband's plate while I was going through my stroke. And I know everybody doesn't have that gift, but why I say that is because that showed me that recovery is possible to the patient and to the family when those types of situations aren't in your way. And I'm talking about the insurances and the financial end. The prime thing that should be dealt with and given when someone suffers a stroke or any illness, but we're only talking about strokes here, is love. They should be the first
thought in mind.
Yeah, the first thing that people are worried about, and everybody's worried about, the doctors, the nurses, the family, the hospitals and the recovery centers. Let's get that person better, because they'll be able to then worry about paying you. But I know that's not possible, so we want to just bring it to the table to find out how we can work with you. And Judy and I are working on a panel discussion to be presented to a few wonderful guests that have been very knowledgeable in the area. So we can't wait to bring that to you. So Judy, what's the next one?
Strokes are the 5th leading cause of death in the United States. Oh, did we do that part already? About 800,000 people in the United States have a stroke each year.
And these may be old numbers, but that's the approximate number. Is that okay, Jim?
On average, 1 American dies from a stroke every 4 minutes.
Wow. That's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
80% of strokes can be prevented by living a healthy lifestyle and successfully treated by knowing the signs.
Right. And that's one of the reasons we do this, because 80%. Do I need to put this on, Jim? Okay. So I'm going to just put on another. That's okay. I'm just going to put on another mic here before. So why I wanted to say, if anybody's out there like Demont or Keith or anybody that would like to, chime in, we'd be more than happy to have you talk about. That's okay. Can you hear me better now? Okay, but I don't want this okay. I don't want the whole show to be about this in front of my shirt. Okay. So now I have 2 mics on. You should be able to hear me. Woo, woo, woo. So, 80% of strokes can be prevented. How can they be prevented? And we're going to go through that. And Judy has some information as well as that. But this is really one of the keys to saving a life. And that's getting help within a 4.5 hour window. Jim, put up the next slide, because I think it talks about what we say. No, it doesn't. So let's go back. So it's okay. So what we say all the time is, yes, you need to call 911 if someone's having a stroke. But what is so important when you call that 911? To let them know that this may be a stroke situation. Because, why do you ask? Because, thank you for asking. No, because when you call a 911 and the ambulance are aware that it could possibly be a stroke, they will be in tune with what to look for, the signs when they get there. And since 4.5 hours is the designated time, which gives or takes a little bit, Dr. Beculus had told us. But
the sooner the better.
Yes, the sooner the better. He wasn't saying that, but he said that expands a little bit. But why? Because when you get to the hospital, and when the ambulance gets there, they will be able to determine whether it's a stroke. If they see any signs that it's a stroke, they will call the hospital while they're on their way to the hospital, and it will be set up that you'll go right past triage and in for a CAT scan, and that will determine whether you need a clot buster or you don't, or maybe you're having a hemorrhagic stroke, which is a blood.
You want to discuss the tests or the types of strokes?
The types of strokes. Let's talk about the types of strokes,
because
there's 2 types of strokes.
Okay, there's the hemorrhagic stroke, which is bleeding, technically known as hemorrhaging. It is the loss of blood or blood escape from the circulatory system. Bleeding can occur internally, where blood leaks from blood vessels inside the body, or externally. An ischemic stroke occurs when an artery to the brain is blocked. The brain depends on its arteries to bring fresh blood from the heart and the lungs. The blood carries oxygen and nutrients to the brain and takes away carbon dioxide and cellular waste. If an artery is blocked, the brain cells cannot make enough energy and will eventually stop working. If the artery remains blocked for more than a few minutes, the brain cells may die. This is why immediate treatment is absolutely critical. And they can go to www.strokecenter.org to learn more about it. But there's also a TIA.
Right, the TIA is a mini stroke.
Is a mini stroke.
Right.
And
a TIA doesn't affect you like a regular stroke does. Like a regular stroke, for the most part, affects your ability to move and your vocals and your, the way you think. But a TIA is like, it happens, and then sometimes you don't even know it happens.
And sometimes you pass out, and somebody has to bring you to the hospital.
Right. And what's important for that is that's a little wink that something is going on. Get there. Because Jean Marie, her mother had a TIA. She was on our show last week. Her mother had a TIA initially.
Right.
She went into the hospital. Then she had a major stroke right after that. And it's a little wink that something is going on in your body and you need to get it checked.
Yes.
That's
now
the most important thing.
Next, they should do a CAT scan. And a CAT scan allows the doctors to see inside your body. It uses a combination of x-rays and a computer to create pictures of your organs and bones and other tissues, and it shows more detail than a regular x-ray. Besides that, an MRI is important. An MRI will visualize the internal structure and function of the body. In the case of stroke victims, it is used to view clots in the brain in case you've got to bleed.
Right.
And the MRI provides much greater contrast between the different soft tissues of the body than the CAT scan does. And then there's the MRA.
Which I never knew about.
The MRA is the same type of machine.
As an MRI?
The MRA is a scan. The MRA scan is a form of an MRI, and it's performed with the same machine. The only difference is that the MRA takes more detailed images of the blood vessels than the organs or tissues surrounding them. So it gets a much clearer photo.
Right. And let's go back to what we said before. All these tests that the doctor will determine which one you need. But you know what? You can't just get it done. You know why? Because your insurance has to approve it. So, and let me share something else. I always go back to this important pinpoint moment in my life when Whoopi Goldberg had her double pneumonia and sepsis. And she was going to be released from the hospital, and her doctor ordered a type of apparatus or machinery that she needed to stabilize her. It was probably like a nebulizer because my family has asthma and they have to breathe in and breathe out the nebulizer. My daughter, when she had pneumonia a long time ago, we had to use a nebulizer. So I'm not sure whether it was a nebulizer or that type of instrument, but her insurance company declined it. And to me, it's like, how could they decline something?
It's so very important
that the doctor is stating and prescribing for you. Yes,
and that insurance won't pay for it.
So we always like to bring that in because we want to make you aware of all the facts that you need to be aware of, because right now, while you're healthy, you really need to prepare for your future. And preparing for your future doesn't mean anything's going to happen to you. It just means that if something does, the love can surround you. You don't have to worry about anything. So we highly recommend you reaching out to an advocate. You build that circle of people around you. The way I always state, doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, psychiatrists, personal counselors, what's it called? Financial advisors,
Healthcare proxy. You should have a healthcare
proxies. There's a lot of different pieces to this. And Susan Orman, she created the package for you to just go online and buy it right off of hers. Whatever way you do it, just make sure you take care of it, because it's not fun when you have something come into your life and you don't have the resources, and you can't have the resources because of situations. Now, last week we were talking about that, some people can't afford to get a healthcare proxy done.
So then they should do it on the computer. But the overall thing to remember is that if you do not have a healthcare proxy and you don't have your wishes stated clearly, the doctors and the administrators and the judges will make the decision on your life, not your family. Your family will not be allowed to make any healthcare decisions that could save somebody's life.
And I'm sure in synagogues and churches, and reach out to someone. Reach out to someone. Start the conversation about looking for help. And there's wonderful seminars. I know Tracy Lawrence has done seminars at the local libraries. We used to do seminars in Wanakee Reserve when I worked there to teach people what they needed to get the information.
I went to high schools that had evening classes about healthcare proxies and about the importance of finances if you get ill. And the fact that you should do it immediately, you should take care of it. Yeah. And when I told it to my family, they said, it's okay, we're great, we don't have to worry about it. And it happened to my dad. He did not have a health care proxy. And I had to rush to the hospital. He had a massive stroke. I had to rush to the hospital, and I had to call an attorney that knew the family and get him to sign a health care proxy, which was not easy.
Right.
So don't wait to the last minute.
Right, because that person may not be capable of signing, and you really need to.
They have to understand, what it's all about. And after a stroke, they might not understand it.
Yeah. So, I know we keep reiterating it, and we keep making you aware of it, but there's a reason that we do, and we do want you to be protected in your life. And I will, close with this before we move on, is bankruptcy is caused by healthcare, by
a lack of
funds. The number one cause of bankruptcy is because of health situations in people's lives.
Can wipe you out in 2 minutes.
Wipes you out. And I'm not stating that it's anybody's fault, because, like we said, it's our responsibility to fix things so that we could move on when we do have that situation happening. And on the other hand, it's the insurances and the politicians who really need to come to the table and fix this. So that's why we want to bring everybody together at a panel discussion, and talk to everybody about it. Because if anybody knows me, I'm great to listening to both sides, but what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it?
What action are we taking, and when?
Right. We're not just meeting to talk about things just to let people have a entertainment. It's not about that. It's about how can we come together with a plan of action to make life and healthcare better.
Yes.
That's our goal and objective. So stay tuned. We're going to be broadcasting that. So let's go to Bernie McDevitt. Bernie McDevitt's on our board. She's the PHN, she's a nurse of Wanakee, New Jersey. And she's a board member. And keys to prevention. Judy, you want to read them?
Blood pressure checks as often as possible. Take medication as ordered and keep records of it. Report abnormal findings to your doctor. Have physical exams, lab tests, and other tests that your doctor recommend. Maintain a healthy diet and exercise.
And exercise is really important. Diet and exercise. We are what we eat. And that doesn't mean you can't, go off once in a while to enjoy yourself. But, for 90% of the time, you should really be eating healthy stuff because food is the nutrients that gives us energy to move. It's almost like a car with gas. And we have to make sure that we're putting the high test in our bodies to move on.
Do you want to discuss some prevention?
No, we're got another section for that.
Okay.
I think Bernie has another slide. Okay. So Bernie McDavitt, she says key to prevention is remember tomatoes and fish 2 to 5 times a week have been proven to prevent strokes.
I eat tomatoes all the time.
I love tomatoes.
And I
Jersey
love fish.
tomatoes. I'm gonna go buy some Jersey tomatoes today. And do you get any Jersey tomatoes here in Long Island?
We've been growing our own tomatoes.
That's they're phenomenal. We're gonna have a tomato party here. Next week we'll cut them up and we'll bring them. Have cardiac tests for abnormalities, or request periodic ultrasounds as your doctor prescribes. And once again, that's something that, your doctor can prescribe, but you have to have reason for it. So, just be aware when you go to your doctor that, you have to, this is what you need to have because you have a history. Histories in your family play a big part of what could happen in your life. So you got to bring your whole history with you when you go to the doctors. Private pay Lifeline screening programs as available in Eastern USA. Search online, and Lifeline screening is one of the ones that Bernie works with.
Or they could go to their to a heart doctor if they have I have assorted doctors. One of them's a heart specialist, and I go once a year for those tests.
Right, and I know when I was affiliated, well, I'm still affiliated, but when I was actually working more closely with Valley Hospital in Ridgewood, they would have free screenings for strokes. So look out for it. Look online.
It's very reasonable if they have it nearby. They have a price that they tell you, and they tell you what tests to do.
Yes. So Jan, the next slide. So stroke is an emergency. What's that? Last one. Stroke is an emergency. Recognize the signs of a stroke and act fast. And it's so easy to remember that word fast because we all live a fast life, right? So it's face. The face drooping. When you see somebody and their face is not aligned, and mine probably isn't aligned because I've suffered a stroke, but on someone who hasn't experienced something, but just be aware. And then the arms, when you put out your arms, mine doesn't go straight, but Judy's do. And if they're not even, if they're not level, if one, and it's probably on the same side that the face is drooping. So, and speech. And this is a big one, it's lisping or
if you can't understand the person, there's a problem going on.
And don't assume that they're on drugs or drunk or or anything. I'm not saying they're not, but what I'm saying is just put 2 and 2 together. And I had a situation happen at my house. A friend of mine came over. And I'm not going to say he or she, they actually were slurring. And I couldn't be in who I was. I couldn't ignore the situation because I was aware that they weren't speaking correctly. So I called their partner and they came over and it turned out that they hadn't eaten when they drank. So they were a little bit lightheaded.
Okay.
But I said, later.
But it's still scary to hear.
It was scary because I was like, are they suffering a stroke? So, and I hadn't known that they had drank before they came over.
But would that be a reason to slur your speech?
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Yes. So, and that's why when this gentleman came by my house to do put in my cable one time, he said he had 2 strokes. He went to the hospital, and they thought he was a drug addict because he was a young boy, 20 years old.
Oh my God.
So, you never know what's going to happen. But you know what? I had to move on the situation with my friend because I didn't want me to waste time,
right?
Assuming that nothing was wrong when there was vividly
right.
something wrong. There was vividly something wrong. So we're going to take a quick break so we can reload the show, the presentation, and we really want to recap on what we just stated. And number one is that strokes can happen to anybody, not your grandparents. Number 2 is that I forgot what I was going to say.
Strokes can happen to anyone at any time, and you have to know the signs.
Oh, I know. Love is the answer.
Love is always the answer.
Love is always the answer. Everything else will work out. Everything else will come together. You put love first, you put your faith first, and everything else will come together. So number 1 is strokes can happen to anybody. Number 2 is love is the answer. And we'll be right back with more of our presentation.
Don't you know you'll always be my baby blue? And I'm so sorry, yeah, for what I put you through. It won't be long till I'm lying next to you. I'll always be there to give you a push on through. It's just me and you and Spider-Man, my baby blue. My baby blue. And does your mother tell you there'll always be days like this? Yeah. To her love, well, I guess it is. Yeah. It won't be long till I'm lying next to you. I'll always be there to give you a push on through. Just me and you and Spider-Man, my baby blue. My baby blue. I call to see you every day. It's the same old answer anyway. I sure hope you remember me. She can't keep you away from me, oh no. My baby blue. My baby blue.
Hi, welcome back to RenéMarie Stroke of Luck, the Knowledge is Power presentation. And I'm here with my co-host, Judy. How are you, Judy?
Hi.
Good.
Good.
So we thought it was really important to bring up another point that is really, 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 did I say really enough?
No, say it again.
Really important. And that is when, go ahead, Judy, read it.
It's really important that you call the ambulance and you tell the ambulance staff to test for a stroke. If confirmed, they will notify the hospital to set up a CAT scan before the patient arrives. The patient will go right past triage and be given a confirming CAT scan and life-saving treatment.
And that is so true. That is so true. So we want to take a snapshot of this photo, take a snapshot of the F.A.S.T photo, because they're really important parts. Jim, you can move So as we said before, time is brain. Judy had mentioned in her description of what a stroke is that it's clots to the brain, and the oxygen is not getting to the brain. So your brain is not able to function without that oxygen to your brain.
And the time that you waste could be brain cells dying.
Yes. And so it's really important to call 911 to let them know that this could be a stroke situation, because time is brain. Jim? Okay, so Judy, go ahead. This is the TPA clot buster.
A drug, clearly the drug TPA, clot buster, must be given as soon as possible after a stroke. With every passing minute, more brain cells die.
And the truth is that we've had Dr. Bekulis talk about this, and we've had many of our guests talk about this, that there has been situations where the time has been too long. If it's not within that 4.5 hour or 5 hour window, which, it keeps fluctuating back and forth, the time, but if it's not immediately, they cannot give that TPA clot busting shot.
Okay, so getting medical help in the 4.5 hour critical window from the onset of the stroke is essential. And I'm going to say, as a family member of my dad had a stroke, the sooner the better.
Right. Jim? So you can't, and this is true, you can't control that 20% of the causes of a stroke. But knowing they exist may help motivate you to work hard on the ones you can change. And of course, we can't do anything about our age. Although strokes is more common among the elderly, a lot of people under 65 also have strokes. Even babies, children have a stroke. We mentioned that before. A family history of stroke can raise a family history of strokes can raise your risk. And my children have to go be tested because I suffered a stroke. If your parents, grandparents, sister, or brother has had a stroke, especially before reaching the age of 65, you are at greater risk. That's really important. Jim? Judy?
These are stroke risk factors that are not within your control. Race can make a difference. Statistics show that African Americans have a much higher risk of death from a stroke than Caucasians do. This is partly because blacks have higher risks of high blood pressure, diabetes, or obesity.
And we spoke to Mark Moore about this when he was a guest on our show. And Bobby Baby Walker also suffered 3 strokes. Yeah. Judy?
Your sex, gender can affect your risks. If your parent, grandparent, sister, or brother has had a stroke, especially before reaching the age of 65, you may be at a greater risk.
Jim?
The location can make a difference. Social economic factors may have an impact. Alcohol or drug abuse can be significant in raising your risk, and sleep habits can affect stroke risk factors.
Which was something I just learned. The eyes I just learned, and sleeping.
I didn't know about the sleeping part.
Yeah.
Whether your risks are related to changeable factors or primary outside of your control, you can benefit your heart and your brain with healthy lifestyle choices. And that's a quote from the American Stroke Association.
And many of these facts we got from the American Stroke Association. So, Jim? Okay, so telemedicine, that's really been on the forefront and coming stronger and stronger into the use, not so much for us that live in cities and in suburbs, but for those that live like 2 and 3 and 4 hours away from a hospital, like out in the West,
right?
They don't have access to hospitals. So what happens is once they get on the ambulance, this telemedicine could have the doctor right there to
right. So the people on the ambulance, the doctors on the ambulance can say this is what's happening,
right?
And the doctor can say
see for himself, because
right.
doctors have different perspectives
right.
on you. So they have different ways to look at people that
right.
Suffer strokes. So it's really important. And I know that the American Stroke Association, this was a year or two ago, was working on with Congress in Trenton. I know that they were doing this to have it covered by insurance, because once again, it wasn't covered by insurance initially. But if you look at the long process, if they wait until they get to the hospital and more things happen to that person, the insurances are gonna have to pay for more medical care anyway. So why not try to prevent things from happening and pay for the telemedicine so that they could get the immediate attention that they need on the situation. So
right.
That's why we're huge advocates for the telemedicine. And so Jim, you could slide. Aphasia. Oh, we didn't. I didn't put the slide up. Judy, tell us a little bit about, before we get into the aphasia. Tell us a little bit about blood pressure and
the things you can do to prevent a stroke.
Yes.
Okay. Lower your blood pressure. Monitoring blood pressure, and if it's elevated, treating it is probably the biggest difference people can make in their vascular health. How do you achieve this? Reduce the salt in your diet. Avoid high cholesterol foods such as burgers, cheese, and ice cream. Eat 4 to 5 cups of fruit and vegetables each day. Get more exercise. Quit smoking if you smoke. Lose weight. While an ideal body mass would be BMI is 25 or less, that may not be realistic for you. Work with your doctor to create a personal weight loss strategy.
That's what I was thinking. Like, as long as you're working with your doctor and you're under care. Some of us, I am never going to be a rail. It's not going to happen. I don't eat garbage. I eat healthy.
You eat very healthy.
I eat healthy, and look at me. I'm not a rail. I mean, I'm not.
Well, I'm not exactly a rail.
but I'm just saying, like, we're never going to be like these. We're all different. We're all different. So we just have to work with our doctors to make sure that our health and care is primary.
So in losing weight, try to eat no more than 1,500 to 2,000 calories a day. Increase the amount of exercise you do with activities like walking, golf, playing tennis, and by making activities part of every single day. Exercise more.
Judy, can I bring something up?
Sure.
I've learned this is something, because I wouldn't eat and I wouldn't lose weight. But you need to eat to lose weight. You need to eat 5 meals a day, Jim? 5 meals a day, approximately. And you need to eat greens and fruits and vegetables and proteins, and stay away from the sugars and the carbs. I mean, that's basically it. But you need to eat, because you need to keep your motor running. And I won't eat. So I'm just stating that when you think that you're heavy, or you're not in the place where you should be, not to eat is not the answer. Just thought I'd mention it to you, because...
And you could achieve this by taking a walk around your neighborhood every morning after breakfast. Start a fitness club with friends. When you exercise, reach the level at which you're breathing hard, but you still can talk. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. And if you don't have 30 consecutive minutes to exercise, break it up to 10 to 15 minutes a session a few times a day. If you drink, do it in moderation. Your goal is don't drink alcohol or if you do it in moderation. Have no more than 1 glass of alcohol a day. Make red wine your first choice because it contains I don't know how to say this word.
Well, don't ask me because I'm not.
But red wine is thought to protect the heart and the brain. What portion sizes? A standard size drink would be about 5 ounces, 5-ounce glass of wine, 12-ounce glass of beer, or 1.5 ounce of hard liquor. Treat AFib, which is an irregular heartbeat that causes clots to form in your heart. Those clots then travel to the brain, producing a stroke. So if you have AFib, get it treated.
Yes, yes. So, we really want to just, recap on our strokes. Strokes are really important to be aware that someone could be suffering a stroke. Like we said, 80% of strokes can be prevented, but that 20%, you just need to work with your doctors to make sure they're under the proper care to make sure. When you call the hospital, 911, you let them know that someone could be suffering a stroke. They're really important aspects. Let's get into the aphasia. Jim, okay, never mind. So aphasia is a silent, devastating, life-changing result of a stroke or brain trauma. That's what I always call it. It's silent because nobody ever knew the terminology aphasia and what it actually meant. Jim, could you
And I can just give you a little more on that. It's the loss of the ability to produce and comprehend language. Depending on the area and extent of the damage, someone suffering from aphasia may be able to speak but not write, or vice versa. It is not, however, an indication of intelligence. It is not.
Right. So, but brain injuries resulting in aphasia may also arise from head trauma, from brain tumors or infections, as well as strokes. Jim, you can slide it. So this is what I always say. Like, people talk about aphasia and they talk about, they see that somebody can't talk, but put yourself in their place. How do we feel? Because I suffered from major aphasia. I couldn't talk. I couldn't read. I couldn't process. I couldn't think. So these are some of the feelings that I was trying to put together when I was working on this. You feel disoriented. You don't know where you are. You don't know where you are. You feel sensitive. You cry. And, and that was one of the things that I never knew was a result of my stroke, was me being so sensitive that I couldn't really deal with life. I couldn't deal with people being nasty to one another, or people coming at me, or maybe they weren't coming at me, they were just talking to me in a different verbiage and different tone, and I couldn't take it. I couldn't take it. I crawled back in my corner. So that's something for you to think about when you're talking to somebody. Always talk with kindness. You can hear better. I would hear better when people would talk with kindness and talk softly to me, more than coming at me. You could say the same thing. It's how you present yourself.
And don't say anything negative in front of a stroke patient.
Yes, yes. So I felt lost. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know where I was going. I felt frustrated that I couldn't talk. And that's why it's important for the family or the friends or the people around you to say, it's okay. Like Dom used to say, it's okay. We'll come back, think about it. He made me do the work, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. And him repeating that and bringing that soft, gentle trust factor into our relationship allowed me to open up and to think and to process things. It was very, very important in my life. I felt confused. I didn't know where I was or what I was doing or
what was going to happen in the
what
future.
was going to happen or where I was going. And this is one that I think I always refer to, shattered. You feel shattered. you feel like you're all over the place, and you have no one second you're happy, the next second you're sad. One place you know what you're doing, and the next you don't. I mean, you feel shattered, that everything is all over. And I describe it like, a glass that drops, and the pieces are all over the place. Now you got to pick up those pieces in your life, and you have to put them back together. And how do you do that?
With kindness and love.
Right, but this is the bridge that I am trying to make people understand. How do we have to do it ourselves as stroke patients?
You have to do the work yourself.
Right, we have to do it ourselves. Jim, we okay? We have to do it ourselves, but we as stroke patients and people that are disoriented, frustrated, sensitive, lost, confused, we don't understand that we have to do it. So how do we start picking up the pieces? So it's a huge process and learning tool, and that's why I say love is the answer, because when you love someone and you show them love, they begin to build that trust back up again, and you kind of like, oh, they're nice to me. What are they saying to me? And you kind of like peel away that onion to be able to communicate and be able to rebuild your lives, because you're like a child. You really do need to be taught in the same way that a child is taught at an adult level. It's very, very, very humbling. This was an important photo for me to put together. And tools for recovery, Judy. Oh yeah, I put Dom's words are down there. They're not for you guys. Go ahead.
Okay, tools for recovery. Hope changes everything. Be positive when you talk in front of a stroke patient. Love. Know your audience.
No, that's those are words that Dom gave me. Dom was teaching me how to present, and you can read it now.
Okay,
that's what he.
Faith.
That's what
okay,
he.
Let's
that's
go
what he
back
said
to
today.
faith. Doesn't make sense. It makes miracles.
Yes.
Hope changes everything. Love. Know your audience. Know who your audience is and why they are coming to your presentation. Knowing the audience helps you structure for your presentation.
Thank you, Dom.
And believe.
And you need the doctors, and you need the nurses. You need a team around you to make you, survive and to recover. And recovery, as we said last week, is forever. You're recovering. You're recovering mentally. You're recovering physically. You're recovering from your doctors. So it's a big journey. And we have to make sure that everybody understands. And like I always say, we only talk about strokes and aphasia because that's what the world that we're in. But, we believe that love is the answer in all areas of our lives, whether it's mental or whether it's physical or whether it's health or whether, just be kind to one another. We need that in our lives nowadays. So, Jim, you could slide it. I just made this up because it really is important to know. Love is the keys to recovery. Love is the key to recovery. Jim? Summary. Let's summarize it, Judy.
Okay, Stroke and Aphasia Awareness Seminar. Knowledge is power, and that's what we're doing today. Strokes don't discriminate. Remember F.A.S.T. The face, the arms, the speech, and time is of the essence. You must call for help within a 4.5 hour period. The sooner the better. Tell the ambulance and the police possible stroke is happening here. Leading cause of disability is strokes, 80% preventable. Live a healthy lifestyle and get regular checkups. Stay informed. Communicate with your government officials. Aphasia is the communication disorder. It does not affect the person's intelligence. Aphasia, have patience. Love is the key to recovery. Please remember that. And join us in our crusade. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. So, we just want to put out to you, if anybody has any questions You could reach us by Facebook, instant message me, or you can email me at ReneMarie languageoflove@gmail.com. Or you could tweet me at ReneMarie77, whatever way. But if you have any questions, or you would like for Judy and myself to come out and give you a seminar, we'd be more than happy to share with you the information and really why it's so important for us to come to you and to give it to you is because you may have questions that you're thinking about, and we can answer those questions or get answers for those questions, because we don't think we're doctors. We don't know the medical side. That's why we have, so many partners, Dr. Beculus and all the people that have been on our show, which I'm so proud of the show. And thank you, Judy, for all the extraordinary work that you do to bring this show together.
I'm very passionate about it.
Yes.
Because I saw what could happen in a stroke in a moment's notice, and with my dad, and I definitely relate with what's happened to you and what's happening to the general public who suffers a stroke or aphasia.
Yeah.
And I want to bring awareness, and I am very passionate about it.
Well, thank you.
I always will be.
shows.
That's my life's work now.
Yeah, it's my life's work too. So, Jim, there's a slide. That's the good. So, God bless to everybody. We really hope that this information will start the conversation. That's going to be the topic. That's going to be the title to our panel discussion. Keep the conversation going. Start the conversation. It really is important. Start the conversation. It has many different facets to it. Start the conversation with your families about your health care, about your financial status, about what you're going to do if something does happen. It's really important. Keep the conversation alive about health care, how we can all come together to really the best for everybody. I know that, I'm a businesswoman. I know that insurances have to worry about money, and I know the hospitals cannot run without money. But we're the patients coming. Okay, we understand that, but what can we do? How can you help someone? You can't just let someone die. And the truth is, it'll cost you more money to have them sick, to have them in a hospital. So let's work hard to prevent illnesses. By allowing to get the MRIs and the CAT scans and the nebulizers when you need it prior to the major stroke happening, so that we could prevent all those illnesses. And and that's really, I'm very passionate about that. And the other thing we're passionate about is to help those that their insurance has run out. Jim, I think there's one more slide. I think it's about partnering with us. So we'd love for you to join with us on this crusade. Like I just said, hospitals can't survive without money. Insurances company can't survive without financial support. And we'd love for you to bring your financial support to us if you're not supporting anybody else, or you have the means to help us, because we really want to attack our third mission statement, which is to help those that their insurance has run out. Our three mission statements are stroke and aphasia awareness, which of course we do every single day.
Yes.
Our annual telethon, which thank you to Madhouse TV and Village Connection for allowing us to do that for the last 5 years. I cannot believe it's been 5 years.
Actually, we're going on 6.
We're going on 6 years. We're going to have a meeting pretty soon. And the third one, which is really a very important piece, is how do we help those that their insurance has run out? Think about it. Think about it. You may be the one that needs help, and you give your tidings to while you can. So we really ask that you consider joining with us. If you want to donate to us, you can go to ReneMarie's languageoflove.org and donate via PayPal, or you can mail it to 451 P.O. Box 451 Hawthorne, New Jersey 07506. And of course, if you have any questions, you can always email me at ReneMarie languageoflove@gmail.com. Judy, you have anything you want to end it with?
Just be aware of the stroke symptoms and get help immediately. You can save your life, you could save someone else's life, and that's the most important thing. Time is of the essence.
It is of the essence. And I'll end with my saying, may God bless you and grant you the health throughout your life. Thank you in advance for your kind support of our mission and our crusade. Have a great day. We'll talk to you later. Let's blow our kisses. God bless
Bye.
everybody.
God bless you.
Bye.
Mi amor, yo no entiendo por qué tú más que nadie sabes qué pasó en toda mi vida. Yo no sé qué tú piensas, yo no sé lo que haré, yo no sé lo que estoy perdiendo, yo no sé lo que va a pasar. No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti, no me puedes oír llorar. El día que caminaste por la puerta, todas las memorias fueron. Mi corazón está vacío, como si tuviera ayer. No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti. Mi corazón está sufriendo. No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti. No me puedes oír llorar. Usted está en mi sueño por la noche. Por favor, no peleemos. Y es tan difícil para mí y para ti. Yo, ¿qué puedo hacer? No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti. Mi corazón está sufriendo. No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti. No me puedes oír llorar. No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti. Mi corazón está sufriendo. No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti. No me puedes oír, no me puedes escuchar. No me puedes escuchar llorar, llorar. No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti. Mi corazón está sufriendo. No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti. No me puedes oír llorar.
Hey, Dorothy. Oh, boy. I wonder who is listening to us out there.
Oh, Ken. Relax. I've been doing this for 83 years. Nothing surprises me until now. Do you know who we have on the show today? The audience is gonna love it. This is gonna be a great show.
Colonel Jessup, did you order the code red?